Prince Harry has won a huge part of his phone hacking case and substantial damages against the Mirror Group newspapers.
Yes, a High Court has ruled there was extensive phone hacking by Mirror Group newspapers between 2006 and 2011.
Yeah, the Prince has been awarded just over £140,000 in damages for the distress caused to Prince Harry from the published articles.
Joining us now to discuss this is royal expert and very good friend of mine, Jennie Bond. Hi, Jennie.
Hello, hello.
Talking about something very different this week to what we were talking about last week. But of course, you'll know about this. Now, it was victory for Prince Harry yesterday, yes. He wasn't there in person. Do you think he was watching it from his home? And how do you think he's feeling right now?
Well, right now I should think he's tucked up in bed, sleeping like a baby, with his babies probably, and yeah, feeling very vindicated, which he has been. This is a big, big triumph for him. You know, I think it's been very courageous of him. You know, I think he's shown he's really got cojones, you might say, to take this all the way to court. He wrote in his book that, you know what he feels about journalists, or at least tabloid journalists. He thinks they are a mob of dweebs, cronies, cut-price criminals and diagnosable sadists. That's what he wrote in his book. That's one thing to write it in a book, but to take it to court and fight this battle for 5 years, I think has been very courageous. And I think it has revealed a lot about the culture of some of the tabloid press back then. And I was reporting alongside them. Absolutely not. Those tactics were not part of what I did or the BBC did, but I worked alongside them, and I used to be quite mystified about how they got these exclusive royal stories. You know, I kind of thought, well, I'm not much of a journalist, am I? But now we know how they got them. It was sometimes by illegal means.
Sorry, Jennie. Do you think it stems back from when he lost his mother and he's been traumatised and he's had this sort of vengeance ever since? Do you think it stems back from that?
I think that we have to take ourselves back to that time. You're quite right, Pete. And I overnight have been thinking more about how awful it must have been for this young boy, almost 13, but just 12 when his mother died. And we know how traumatic, obviously, that was for him. And then in those formative adolescent years, when he was trying to get his life back together and his head together, to feel so suspicious of everyone around him because things that he was doing in his private life, the mistakes that every adolescent makes, was front page news everywhere. And he began to be suspicious of everyone and everything, of his friends, of his family, of every relationship. And he feels very bitterly that it did ruin several of his friendships and relationships, notably with Chelsea Davy, his long-standing girlfriend. And I think it really mucked with his headspace, and a lot of his psychological problems, I think, have come from that.
I mean, it's very clear, isn't it, that it's a very personal battle for Prince Harry. As you say, he spoke about his anxieties and also the impact on his relationships. But I was really quite struck by that statement yesterday outside court that was read by his barrister David Sherborne. And in it, he describes kind of taking on the tabloids as slaying a dragon. But he also says that this is just the start, doesn't he? He talks to the Metropolitan Police. He appeals to them directly and says that they should investigate for criminal charges. So my question to you, Jennie, is where do you think Prince Harry wants to take this? We know about the other cases with the other tabloids. He's obviously going to feel spurred on to do that. But do you think he wants to see people in jail over this?
Oh, I think he'd very much like to see people in jail. To think back, you know, people were in jail. One of the reporters I used to work alongside of the News of the World, Clive Goodman, he was jailed for using illegal methods to obtain information from the royal household. So it's happened. But Andy Coulson was also jailed. And I think, yeah, Harry feels that's exactly what he would like to happen, notably probably to Piers Morgan, who obviously denies any wrongdoing in this. But I think the kitchen is getting quite hot, actually, for people like Piers and some of the executives who the judge said, executives of the Mirror Group, at least two, the judge deemed that they had known and they had turned a blind eye to it. There's a lot of questions still to be answered. Of course, Harry's still got court cases going on against the Mail and the Sun, and he must be feeling, you know, pretty confident about those now.
Much being on the show, and lovely seeing you. I must get your number, Jenny.
Yes.
I have to get a number because we know each other, but we don't actually get to talk to each
you
other.
should have a chat on the phone. Thank you
Thanks,
so
Jenny.
much, Jenny.